Our handout today that we're looking at is called Rise and Fall of the Caliphate. We're going to get through some amount of it today. Looking at your notes, one of the first things you see is a map. And this map kind of shows you the places that Islam has expanded. And it actually begins on the map with everything in purple. Everything in purple, these are the places where Islam started. In purple, you have the homeland with Mecca and Medina, areas that we've seen before, the Arabian Peninsula. But then it expands. Islam takes over all of North Africa. Islam takes over the entire Middle East. They get to India. Islam actually even takes over part of Europe. What part of Europe gets taken over? But Spain does. And they're going to be taken over for like 700 years. And we're actually going to see a little bit later that as Spain is taken over for 700 years, there's actually a lot of Arabic words in modern day Spanish. And that's not surprising, because if you live next to someone for 700 years, if for 700 years you're ruled and reigned by people from the outside, they're going to make an influence upon you. So it says on the handout, the first line, it says the Islamic conquests. And that's what we see for about 600 years. From 632 to 1258, we see these Islamic conquests. And there's a vocabulary word here. It's called the caliphate. And, we have a similar word in English. For example, if we have a kingdom, who rules a kingdom? A king. It's like in the word, right? A kingdom is ruled by a king. Who then do you think rules a caliphate? A caliph, right? And it says on your handout the definition of a caliphate. It is an Islamic government that unites religion and government. There's no separation of church and state. It says that they are a united government led by a successor to the prophet. And we know that when Muhammad died, you cannot have another prophet. He was the seal of the prophets. We know that we don't have like a king or a pope, but they do have a person, a successor known as the caliph. And we'll type that in on our first blank. The caliphate is a government, unites religion and government, led by someone who is a successor to the prophet, known as the caliph. And when one caliph dies, another caliph will take over. That's what we have here. Now, whenever an empire grows, their culture, their values, their beliefs spread with them. I'm going to give you an example from a different time period. The image on the screen, all those countries in red share something. This picture is like from maybe about the year 1910. And these countries in red are all part of the same empire. All throughout history, we have a lot of different empires. There's the Roman Empire. There's like what we're talking about, the Muslim Empire, the Caliphate. There's a Mongol Empire. But looking at this map in red, what country do we have here, Annabelle? Who's this country to our north, Annabelle?
Wait, that's not the U.S. Canada.
That's Canada. Amy Gibbons, what is this continent that is a country down under? What country is this, Amy Gibbons? It starts with an A. They have kangaroos there. That's Australia, right? Parker, what is this country here of 1 billion people? It's a subcontinent. That is not China. China's over here. We've studied, we need to really work on our geography. 1 billion people. Here's the Himalayas. Here's the Ganges, or the Ganges over here. That's India. So we should be able to identify a country of 1 billion, that's like a big deal. Okay. So the question is, what empire is this? What empire in 1910 ruled and reigned Canada, Egypt? Can, who? The British, absolutely right. This is the British Empire in 1910. It's pretty big. I mean, especially when you look at who are the British, they're this little island. This little island controls huge parts of North America. This little island actually controls part of South America, was ruled by the British. Even you can't even see it on the map. Part of Central America is red. If you ever go on a cruise, there's a country here called Belize. They don't speak Spanish as their first language. English is spoken in Belize because they were part of the British Empire. If you and I go to Kenya or Uganda, here, they speak English there. South Africa, English. If you call 2 a.m. tech support and you get a guy from India, he speaks English because that's one of the official languages in India and in Pakistan and Australia. That is one of the things that happened is as the British Empire grew, their culture spread, their language spread, their religion spread. Guess what's the average religion of people in Kenya, in East Africa? Christianity, because the British brought it with them. Jamaica's red here too. You can't see it. Well, that's a good question. That's a complicated question. We can get to that later. But the point for today is all these areas are part of the British Empire, and they're influenced by the British. I'll give you an example how they're influenced by the British. What stereotypically is the most popular drink that the British like having? They have a whole time of day based on drinking this, and tea time, right? Now, for us as Americans, we were a British colony. Like, we were 13 colonies. We fought our war against the British. Do Americans, we just love and we obsess over our tea? Is that an American thing?
We threw all the tea in the water.
Okay, well, sweet tea, but that's not the same thing as we're having tea time and you have cakes and tea, and like, that's not an American thing. Gross. So that is a British thing. If you and I go to East Africa, Kenya and Uganda and Tanzania, they love tea, hot tea. And if you ask them, hey, what's up with the tea? They're like, oh, well, it's because of the British. The British have influenced us. If we go driving in Kenya, they drive on the left side in Kenya. You know why they drive on the left? Because of the British. So the British, everywhere they went, they brought their language, they brought their culture, they brought their influences. So we would probably expect to see the same thing with the Islamic Empire, that everywhere the caliphate went, they spread their religion and their language. If you look at the second line, there's a word there. It says Islamization. That means the spreading of, guess what religion? Islam. Everywhere they went in purple on this slide, everywhere they went in green, they spread their religion. The spreading of Islam, it's called Islamization. But they didn't just spread their religion. What's the main language of these first Muslims? What is it? Arabic. That was like the language of the Quran. And so guess what happens? Not only do they spread their religion, but they also spread their language. So guess what word means the spreading of Arabic all around the world? If Islamization means the spreading of Islam all around the world, guess what word means the spreading of Arabic? Arabization, right? So we see Islam is spreading. Their language is spreading, Islamization. We see their language is spreading, Arabization, just like we saw with the British. But they also bring technology with them. And so we're going to look at some technology. We're going to look at some practices that they spread throughout the world. And there is one given for you already called the astrolabe. They do spread some of their technologies, a piece of technology. We'll write down now, after astrolabe, a second thing that is spread by Muslims to white Europeans. There is a form of math that actually has an Arabic name. that is spread to white people. And we actually at LaPorte offer a class that is an Arabic word in mathematics. What math class do we have that is not an English word, it's an Arabic word, and you have to take 2 years of it at LaPorte? The word algebra, not an English word, it's an Arabic word. Algebra is introduced to white people from the Muslim world as they transferred knowledge. We'll write down algebra. We'll write down algebra after the word astrolabe. If you feel that the Muslim world has no impact on you, if you feel Islam has no influence on you, you're wrong, because your math class, algebra, is from the Muslim world. It, in fact, has an Arabic name, algebra. Second thing we'll write down on that line, we're going to write down the term medical advances. Medical advances. There are different medical treatments. There are different medicines from the Middle East, and those make their way all across the world. Everywhere they conquer in purple, everywhere they conquer in pink and green, they spread their language, they spread their religion, they spread even their technology. What part of Europe, again, did we mention is conquered by Muslims? What part of Europe? Which one? Spain. If you look at the map, Spain is conquered. So all these different things from the Middle East, they can go throughout Africa. They can go into Spain, and from Spain, white people can adopt it. Same thing over here. Muslims take over eventually Eastern Europe. They can spread their influence, and now white people are getting algebra from the Muslim world. White people are getting medical advances from the Muslim world. There's a third thing that white people get from the Muslim world. If you ever watch the Super Bowl, if it is the 10th Super Bowl, and there's like a sign for it, what do they use to write down the Super Bowl numbers every year? Roman numerals, right? Apart from like Super Bowl or maybe like sequels to movies, what other instances do we use Roman numerals in daily life?
Like names, like
George III, right? But other than that, is there any other like common uses of Roman numerals? Sometimes chapters and books, right? That's true. But like if you went to your math class today and your teacher said, "Okay, guys, from now on, we're gonna show all of our work in writing using Roman numerals." Would that be easy? Okay, well let's test your knowledge. Annabelle, what is the Roman numeral for 10?
It's
Okay. Annabelle, what is the Roman numeral for 50?
50. I think it's like I remember it's
No, I don't think you should look it up. Annabelle, what's the Roman numeral for 100? Well, you said that if we switch.
Like, it's basically math. It's like, I don't know. You just add it up and you just it's like patterns.
Let's look at it real quick.
Roman numeral for 50 is L.
Oh, really? Well,
If you look at this real quick, look at so the Roman numeral for 50 is L. If you wanted to write the number 58, you'd have to put LVIII. If you wanted the number 70, you'd have to put LXX. If you wanted to write the number 89, you'd have to put LXXXIX for 89. Are you saying, Annabelle, that it would be just as easy to switch over? We're going to do all of our algebra, all of our geometry, showing our work.
It's kind of the butt. You have to get used to it.
I was thinking like 150
So-
or 20.
So you're saying it would be just as easy, it's just getting used to it.
No.
I'm going to say it's not going to be easy at all. I'm going to say there's probably a reason we don't do long division. Imagine having to do your division or using like multiple multiplication, not with calculators, using this. Now, what kind of numerals do we call these again? Roman numerals, because guess where we got these numerals from? From Rome, right? This represents the best white culture in Europe came up with, Roman numerals. There's a name for the numbers that we use today. Like on, to the left you have the Roman numerals, and the right you have just like the numbers we have, 45, 46. What are those called? There's a name for them.
Numbers like the what?
So these are numerals, right? We have two types of numerals on this slide. On the left are Roman numerals. On the right are another type of numeral that no well, they're not regular.
English numerals.
No. They're based on the people we got it from. They're called Arabic numerals because we got our numerals from the Muslim world. White people said, gosh, these numbers are kind of hard to do complex math. What are Muslims using? Oh, this is infinitely better because what do Arabic numerals have that Roman numerals don't that allow you to carry a 10? No, they're both numbers.
I only two of them, but because they have letters. They
Okay.
have letters as their numbers.
But what's the Roman numeral for 0?
Oh,
It doesn't exist.
yeah.
In Arabic numerals, 0 is used as a what?
Like an oval. Like an oval.
I know, but what's the purpose of it?
It's just
Not really.
It does count. It counts as a placeholder because if you have 10 and add a 0, it becomes 100. If you have 100 and add a 0, it becomes 1,000. Here, you're like putting combinations of letters. 0 is kind of important. How do you do math without a 0? You kind of need a 0.
You have to do another letter for each.
It's pretty terrible. We're going to write down a third thing, Arab numerals. This is given to us from the Muslim world. Arab numerals. If you go to math class, every day you are using something the Muslim world gave you to use. So if you feel you have no connection to the Muslim world, we've already seen algebra from the Muslim world. Every time you write a number, every time you put in a new contact, you're putting in that new contact because of something the Muslim world gave you on your cell phone.
The Muslims, like, they math with it.
We got algebra from them.
Well, trigonometry.
Trigonometry is actually a Greek word, and that's something that the Greeks actually, which are white people, came up with. Last thing that is an example of the spreading of Muslim culture, there is a drink Muslims gave white people. Muslims are not allowed to drink alcohol. It's prohibited. So Muslims thought, gosh, we want to have a drink that makes me feel good. You have a beer, you're like, oh, long day, feel good,
What about a soda?
Well, there's no sodas yet, but they want to have a drink that changes how your body feels, but not get you drunk. What drink is there available at this time that you drink it, you're like, that's exactly what I needed. It makes me feel good. Maybe even a little hyper sometimes.
Red Diamond Sweet Tea.
There's no Red Diamond Sweet Tea in the 700s or the 800s. What's another guess? Okay, so again, there's not cans of Red Bull in the 800s. What is a drink that would be available
Water.
that's not an invention?
Brew beer. Not beer, but it's like
Wine's alcohol. Can't have it.
Oh, shoot, then I don't know.
Fanta.
We drink a lot of this in America. In fact, we'll pay like $6 for a venti size of it.
Coffee?
Coffee is from the Muslim world. We'll write down coffee. White people get coffee from the Muslim world. There would never be a Starbucks unless Muslims introduce coffee to white Europeans.
Yeah, I don't like that.
Well, you don't even need to have Starbucks to, like, I don't really drink Starbucks coffee.
Like, it doesn't caffeine like stuck in your throat or something.
It does, but it doesn't make it any less amazing, a hot cup of coffee. All that, that's fine. All that coffee is from the Muslim world. Let's do 2 more lines, or 3 more lines will be done for the day. So the Byzantine Empire, so it turns out that part of the world, was this empire right here in purple called the Byzantine Empire. And they were Christians. Bummer, spoiler alert, guess what happens to much of their empire? It gets taken over. And it says that the Byzantine Empire, it says that parts were conquered by the Arabs and they slowly became Islamic. What might be one reason you might give up your Christian culture for Islam? A practical reason. Well, Muslims didn't really care about killing you because if you are ruled by a Muslim, what benefit do you give them? Taxes. Like, the last thing a Muslim wants to do is kill you, because if I kill you, Annabelle, I can't get any taxes off of you. So they don't care about killing you. They want you to live. I can't kill you. I'm like, oh, who's going to pay for the show? But why might I convert to Islam if Muslims take me over? We just alluded to it. What will I not have to do anymore? Pay taxes. So a lot of people, like, little by little, they're like, you know what? I was a Christian, but I like that extra $1,000 in my pocket. See you later, Jesus. Hello, Muhammad. It says in the handout that they slowly became Islamic. These areas on your handout were formerly, we'll write down, Christian. Much of the Byzantine Empire, all of North Africa used to be Christian. But little by little by little, people gave up Christianity for Islam. You could give it up for the money. You could give it up for it just being easier. If my boss is a Muslim and I become a Muslim, that could be a good deal, right? That could be a good deal for me. There is one country in North Africa where, even though a lot of people left Christianity, there's still a solid minority who are Christian to this day. These Christians are called, on your handout, Coptic Christians. And it says that they remain, I'm sorry, does it have, I don't have a student copy. Is it blank, or what does it say where it says? Coptic.
Minority.
That's all it says? Okay. Right. You'll write down in Egypt. In Egypt. We'll write one more thing about this minority in Egypt. We'll write down that they're 10% of the population. Sometimes when you think about Egypt, you're like, oh, Egypt's a Middle Eastern country. They're all Muslims. But in Egypt, 10% of Egypt is to this day Christian. There have been Christians in Egypt longer than any white person was a Christian in England. People have been Christians in Egypt longer than any white person in Germany or France was a Christian. 10% remain to this day. Careful. Let's do one last. These two next lines. We're done. We got 3 minutes left. There's another empire called the Sassanid Empire. They're the Persian Empire. Here, they're in this part of the world. And it says it's not that part of them gets taken over. It says they're actually defeated entirely. And they also have a religion of their own based on what the handout says. Guess what the name of their religion is? Their religion was called Zoroastrian. It was a Zoroastrian, if you were that religion. We're going to write down that there is a small Zoroastrian, you'll write down minority in Iran. A minority in Iran. Iran is I-R-A-N. So just like Christians, there was a religion here called Zoroastrianism, and they said, you know what's easier? Just convert to Islam. And it says, last line for today, there's today about only 25,000 of these people. That means there's more people in LaPorte than this religion. And that equals, we'll write down last thing, 0.03% of their population. They are a minority. They are only 25,000 or 0.03% of the population. Okay, so that's where we're going to go ahead and close our time today. We'll finish this tomorrow, or Monday rather. And also, there's going to be a homework assignment posted. It's not posted in Teams yet, but it will be posted in Teams. So make sure that you attend to that. Make sure you look into that so that you do your homework assignment. So Monday. It will be due Monday. So you'll have some assignment to do over the weekend. So with that being said, I've enjoyed our time together. I look forward to talking to you all soon. soon. Check the homework. Have a great day.